Yo guys, I'm back with another Inside the Mind, and in today's episode we're going to be looking at how to navigate the first 7 to 8 games of Foot Champs. This is the most important time of the year where you could be improving for the next game. But before we start the video, make sure you do drop a like on this video and sub to the YouTube. Also, I do stream on Twitch every single day. Okay, so let me explain to you what I've been doing that's helped me get rank ones every single year since the beginning of Foot Champs. So essentially, the way it works is your first couple games are meant to be easy. You're just establishing yourself in the ELO system, you're just starting your games. So from the very beginning, it's meant to be easy pickings. The reason that is because there's a thing called ELO. In every single game, they have stuff like this. The better you get at the game, the harder your opponents become. So you play people in and around your own level. With this FIFA specifically, because there's only 15 games, I would say in and around the 7 to 8 game mark is where it starts to get difficult. However, we're not going to speak about that. That's going to be in the second part of this series. The first part is just going to focus on the main start of the game. The reason this is because this is arguably the most important part of Foot Champs. You're establishing yourself, you're putting a threshold down, and you need to be warm for this. The reason I say that is the second you get into a tough game, you get complacent. You start to struggle. So, if you're locked in from game 1 to game 7 to 8, you won't struggle when it comes to 8, 9, 10 when you're facing maybe pro players or very high skilled players. Because you don't want to get to that stage. You're not warm with your greens. You haven't green timed in a couple games. You're not hitting your crosses, your travellas, your finesse shots. Your precision shots are going off target. Your passes aren't as crisp as they usually are. Stuff like that. In the first couple games, you need to be warming up these mechanics. Another thing I would like to reiterate is before you get into your first couple games, first of all, if you're on console, make sure crossplay is off. You don't want to verse a hacker early doors and it ruins your entire week. You lose motivation, and most of all, you lose a game. It's not worth it. You don't want to get frustrated with this game because listen, it's very, very easy to get tilted. Another thing you want to make sure is your formation is set and you have backups. Let's say, for example, the guy's very aggressive down the wing, you switch to a formation where you can defend that better. Or you're struggling late in the game, you're 2-1 down, and you need to go attacking. I'd suggest formations like 4-4-1-1 or the 4-2-3-1. Anything like that realistically will help you win games. Press the ball high up the pitch and go for it basically. And another thing, your assignment section. Make sure the correct players are in the correct spaces. The right people are going to be taking your corners. The right players are going to be on your corner taking positions. For example, hull it out near post, stuff like that. Me, myself, I score maybe an average of 8 to 10 goals a weekend league just with headers alone from corners. They can bail you out late in the game. Even if you don't score, you might get another corner that you can pass from or waste time from if you're late in the game. Stuff like that. So make sure your tactics and your assignments are correct before you get in your games. Okay, so the first few games, like I've said before, the basic, the simple, the easy to get past people, the easy to score goals. This is where I practice most of my mechanics. Think of this as my warm up. If you don't use your first couple games as warm up, just play your qualifiers beforehand, play 1 or 2 games, warm up a little bit, and then jump into your champs. So if you pay attention, this is the video where I get the rank 1 right. And I just start off with my usual kickoff. I pass to my right mid and do a couple skills, jinky majinky, to get away from the player. Bearing in mind, this is game 1, so I already know that the player is not going to be great. A couple passes in, take my time, and it's a simple goal. It's taken me 1 minute 40 seconds in game time to score a goal. Bearing in mind, I've done 2 things here. I've practiced my kickoff, so I know roughly, alright, cool, this is how it's going to work. And another thing is, you need to establish what type of gameplay you're going to be playing in. By that I mean, certain times of the day, the gameplay is choppy, it's a bit harder to play, it's a bit stuck. Like, you feel like you can't turn, your passes aren't going off first time, stuff like that. So you need to establish mentally what that is and then adjust accordingly. By that I mean, if it's going to be one of those days where the connection isn't great and you just can't be bothered, maybe just take the day off, don't play, or make sure you're hitting the stuff that you need to hit. For example, if the gameplay is delayed, take that extra second to make a pass. Just so you make sure you score that extra goal or make that extra pass inside the box to score a goal. Because realistically speaking, the game's not going to care about how you feel or whatever's going on. The game's going to be the game. So unfortunately for us, we have to micro adjust and adjust accordingly to everything that's happening throughout the game. Okay, so moving on to game two. Usually what I do here is, listen, early doors, get your mistakes out of the way, dragging your defenders, not hitting speed boosts properly. Like literally all I do here is I practice my speed boosts, I make sure everything's alright, the gameplay's feeling good, I'm happy enough to continue playing. And in this instance, if you pay attention, I just move out my defender and I just click circle like an idiot. But realistically, you need to be getting these kinks and mistakes out of the way early doors, so later in the harder games, you're not making mistakes like this. Practice your player locks like this, practice your composure in front of your goal and decision making. Because realistically, this is the make or break in the game. When you get to your later stages of the game, you're going to struggle because, oh, I didn't warm up or it's my first game on, stuff like that. You don't want to be caught in a situation where you're not ready, you're not warmed up. Travellas you usually hit, you haven't practiced them all day, so you're not confident in the one that you really need to hit last minute, you're not ready for. Stuff like that is realistically is very, very important and people overlook it completely. But anyway, practice everything, your finesse shots, low drivens, absolutely everything in these first few games. Another thing I would recommend is as the games go on, start watching your players' teams. First of all, you get a lot of information off of stuff like this. For example, if the guy's got an Evo, you might find out information about that Evo that can help you. For example, let's say one of their DMs. For me, I have Hullet with finesse. It's a secret weapon because realistically, on the left DM position, no one's going to expect you to hit a shot across goal unless you have a Travella option like Bobby Charlton, for example. The reason that is because if I have finesse on the left DM position, they veer off of me, if that makes sense. They don't defend properly because they don't expect a shot. They're gonna expect a pass. And the benefit of that is if I can watch this guy's team and for example, let's just say that Yaya Toure had finesse. I'll know mentally that I need to prepare. If Yaya Toure gets the ball, I have to stop him from shooting basically. And also another thing, as the games go on, if you're on PlayStation especially, don't be afraid to dodge. I'm telling you, if you see a name and you recognize it, you recognize the PSN, get out of the game. Who's gonna fault you for avoiding a tough game? Like realistically speaking, it doesn't matter. You're not streaming. Most of the people watching this video aren't gonna be streaming or content creators, so it doesn't really matter if you're dodging someone that's a pro player or someone that you recognize as a very good player. Because who cares? You're here to win your games. If you can avoid a very tough game, why not? Okay, in and around this stage, you start to get people that will just rage quit. I'll be honest. I had two people rage quit before the 10th minute, the 15th minute. In this game, I'm 3-0 up in 12 minutes. And the guy pauses for me and he's out of there. It's as simple as that. The benefit of stuff like this is you get through your games very, very quick. However, like I said, if you're not careful, you might not warm up properly. You might not have everything ready, your mechanics. You're not confident yet with certain things. And another thing, like I mentioned, in this situation, right, when I'm looking at this guy's team, I'm trying to see what type of angles does he have. So if you look, he's got Liao and Dembele, which means he has no Travella. He has zero Travella options in those two. Obviously, they both have finesse, which is a problem, and they both have pinged pass, which is a problem, but you can't Travella with them. So I know he's going to try cut in and finesse 99% of the time or try a pass in. The benefit of knowing this stuff is you can adjust accordingly, like I mentioned. If you know that a person can't Travella from a certain angle because that player is right footed, like Leao, for example, in off the left, you're in the money. And you need to be able to identify stuff like this. And I know it sounds silly, but I see Bobby Charlton as the left DM, right? I know mentally, if he has the ball with Bobby Charlton, that he can prepare for a Travella option. So, like I said, try your best to watch people's teams and take information out of it. Look at their evil players, see what playstyle pluses they have. Because again, this game is very, very heavily reliant on playstyle pluses and the Travellas, of course. Okay, games like this. These games are very, very important. In this game, basically, obviously I'm streaming, so I'm speaking to chat. And look at what I do here. I get very rash, I get very complacent, and I let the guy score 2 goals in a game where I was comfortably up 2-0. When I say I was dominating the guy, I was comfortably dominating the guy, okay? And look, obviously my excuse is that I was streaming. So for me it was this and for me it was that. But realistically speaking, I got complacent and that's all that it is. I took the foot off the pedal And, I started relaxing a little bit where realistically, this guy could have packed me in if I wasn't careful. And look, in this situation, it's a simple thing. You fight back, you play on, you keep pushing. And like I said, get your silly mistakes out of the way early in these sorts of games, because this is where you need to be ready, basically. Because this is where, realistically speaking, all the mistakes that you want to avoid in the later games, you get that stuff out of the way. Because that's how it should be. You don't want to struggle late in the games and it becomes a nightmare situation. You just want to relax, play the game as it is. Okay, so as the games go on, like I mentioned, game 7, 8 is where it roughly starts to get hard. This is where you need to start going absolutely crazy. Listen, be ruthless. Don't worry about, the game's boring and this and that. Be ruthless. This is where, like I said, you practice your mechanics. You go in, you practice your first time over the tops, your sweaty goals, your everything. You need to be doing it now. Make sure everything here is locked in. Realistically speaking, by this point, you should be fully focused. Everything should be warm. You should be completely ready to destroy the rest of your harder opponents as it comes. Okay, and just to prove to you that around game 8 is where stuff gets serious, look at this absolutely demonic team. He's got that extinct Ronaldo up top. I knew I was in trouble for this game. And basically, if you want to watch the rest of this, so from game 8 to game 15, I'm going to make a second part to this video coming out, I believe, a day or two after the video you're watching at the moment. And we're going to focus on how to navigate the tough games where it gets serious, where you start playing high level players. And you'll see in the clips that I'm going to show you tomorrow, I play some players that are demons. Like I'm talking absolute pro level players that have like 3,000 hours on this game. And realistically speaking, like I said, in games like that is where you need to have your mechanics warm. You need to be fully ready for all this type of stuff. And let me be deadly serious with you, yeah? The game got so serious. First of all, I had to start time wasting. And second, look at me. I've got my gamer glasses on, my mic is out of the way, and my head is inside the screen. And look, I'm literally time wasting. I said, nah, I'm not having it. That is how intense these games start to get this late in EAFC's champs. I'm telling you, this is how you need to be. You need to be fully locked in for these sorts of games. And if you don't know, this here is a very, very good player. I played him a couple of times this year. He's completely destroyed me. But luckily, because we did get the 15, I did manage to beat him. But I'll walk you through in my next video exactly how to navigate these very, very tough games. Okay, that is the end of this video. However, we're going to break down just one last time how you should be doing this. The first few games are for a few things. First of all, you need to make sure you get your mistakes out of the way. Lunge in your tackles, slide tackle, do this, do that, lose concentration, whatever. Pay the price for these types of mistakes early, so when you play hard, high level players, you don't have to worry about, oh, I wasn't locked in and making excuses for yourself. You don't want that. Mentally, you want to make your mistakes early so you don't make them again. Another thing, warm up your mechanics, your green times, your travellas, your first time over the tops, your pinged passes, your tiki-taka passes, whatever you have, your corner takers, your free kick takers, warm all of that stuff up. You don't want to get late into the games where it's a bit tougher and you're not prepared to take a corner. Move your keeper on opposition corners as well to make sure they don't get free, easy bicycle kick corner goals. You need to be doing stuff like this early so you can establish yourself for the later, harder games. And again, make sure your tactics are on lock, your assignment, everything is all ready. You have backup formations as well, just in case you need to attack or defend late in the game, stuff like that. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you stay tuned for part 2 coming very soon. Anyway guys, take care.